Hey fam, welcome back. Tisha here, back for another Love and Marriage Huntsville review. Do me a favor and hit the like button as we get into this episode. This episode had me up and down. One moment I was crying, then the next I found myself overly irritated. There was far too much Trisha in this, too much Ken, too much everybody. All right, let's get into it. So we begin the episode venue shopping. Nell, Chris, and their kids scope out the venue where they plan on having the vow renewal. I want to know if they're showing this out of sequence because they already had a date and everything else locked in. So are y'all not showing this in the way that it happened or what? Anyways, so Nell is there and her daughter Kayla is there, and they both have on their scrubs from Nell's daycare facility and walkie-talkies. I kept looking at the walkie-talkie looking phone things in their pockets, and I don't understand why one of them didn't leave it in the car. I don't know if that's how they contact people or not, but I was just like, what are we doing here? It just kept on, catching my eyes. So they go over the various roles about who's going to be responsible for the music and who's going to be responsible for the flowers and things of that nature. Now, originally, Lance was supposed to be in charge of the music, but because Chris Jr. has certain contacts, he is like, I think that, my brother should do that. And what I should focus on is us, going to the graveside. I feel like I should manage, the coordination of that. I don't really feel like that required anything except for y'all saying, okay, we're going to do this on this day and that time, but whatever. Nell says that she's still struggling with going because she hasn't properly grieved the loss. I personally hate that people put so much pressure on themselves. I personally have different feelings about a graveyard. I'm not one to visit them. It's just not my thing. I've gone before when various loved ones have departed. And after that, if I'm being completely honest, I don't go back. I don't like it. I don't. It doesn't bring me peace. Now, it brings some people peace. And in this day and age, you have to do whatever helps you get through. So if they feel like this will help Nell in some way, her being able to go to the graveside and let out some emotions, then good for her. But I don't feel like people should make themselves feel bad if they're unable to do that. On to Trish. So Trish and her kids head to the trampoline park. She's there with her son and her daughter. She jumps around a little bit. The best part of that was watching her fall to me. I chuckled. She sits down with the kids. Her daughter looks just like her father. And she asks the kids if they're happy with the family dynamic. So her daughter's like, yeah. And her son is like, I'm all right, but this little small beef that you guys have going on is weird. It is weird, and it makes me wonder how long they've been beefing. Did this beef just occur, or has this been ongoing? Trish claims, look, I've tried to smooth it out, and her daughter makes a statement that makes me wonder if she really has. Y'all tell me what you think, because her daughter says, Mom, sometimes you just have to step back and breathe. It makes me wonder what her daughter has overheard or what she's been told. Because yes, kids do pick up on things, but I feel like she's been privy to some tense moments that you're telling your mom you need to step back and breathe. Now, during various parts of the conversation, I feel like the kids are just talking to her because they know that they're filming and they have to talk to her. But it's very much so given like, Mom, we don't believe some of what you're saying. Because the subject comes up about her divorce, and she tells her son and her daughter that she has filed for divorce, and her son is like, to be honest with you, Mom, I thought that y'all had already did that, and it wasn't until Dad let me know that you guys didn't. I don't think there's anything wrong with the dad letting him know that they didn't, but it goes to show you she did not take certain steps when it came to having this man around her kids, when it came to putting this man into this house with them, that I personally feel like she should have taken. If you know you're not divorced, why are you confusing your children by still, not ending one chapter before starting another one? So then her son is like, I feel like I'm yelling, y'all, sorry. Do you plan on remarrying anytime soon? And she's like, one of these days, but not soon. And then she tries to fix it up a little bit, saying that she needs to work on things. And as I hear her talking, I say that at every turn, it is clear that this lady does not plan on marrying that man at any point. And at this point, I don't feel bad for Ken. Ken deserves whatever he gets because he is a clown just like her. When you decided to be involved with this woman, you knew she wasn't divorced. When you decided to live with her, you knew she wasn't divorced. So I'm looking at both of y'all like you're crazy. So we see Nell, and she's at her house, and she invited Trish over to be nosy. And surprisingly to me, I actually did like the scene with these two once it got going. So both of them look pretty in their dresses. They sit down, and Nell wastes no time to bring up Martell and what they had going on. Now, Trish says that she came over to do the whole workout thing. It turned into something else. He was talking about how much he missed his kids and his family, and they were talking so much about that it got to the point where he told her that he didn't need a therapist. Can I see him saying that? Yes, I can. But I still feel like she's leaving stuff out because every time she tells the story, there's something else added onto it. What she should have done was once she decided to be truthful about it, she should have told every single thing so that it didn't leave this gray area that we keep having because she lies so much. Every time she opens her mouth, there's a lie. So she says, despite all that's been said, he never came on to her. There was no sex. There was no nothing. It wasn't like that. She says she can't admit that she dropped the ball, though, in saying that she knew him. Like, she should have said it earlier on how she knew him. So now it's like, okay, so let me ask you another question. Why is it taking so long for you to get divorced? And she does everything but explain why it's taking her so long to get divorced. Maybe I missed it. Put it down below if I did. But I don't hear why it took so long. Instead, what I hear is her giving a bunch of excuses about things going on. So was she trying to say that she's been grieving and that's why she wasn't able to do it? Because I'm not buying that either, because if you can get in a whole nother relationship, then you could go walk your tail down and get divorced. So she talks about, how he enjoyed his time, saying that he needed time to figure things out. And he was out enjoying his life while she was just trying to survive. He wasn't there for her when her mother passed and then her father passed 7 months later. Now, I saw somewhere on Twitter where somebody said that her parents passed a long time ago, way before the pandemic. Just because it was a long time ago doesn't mean she's dealt with the grief, number one. Number two, I don't know if that really matters unless she's trying to make it seem like it was something more recent. That's the only way it would matter to me, because grief is a process and it literally is waves. There are months where you'll be great and years where you might not. Like it shows up how it shows up. So she said that he made statements about her being too close to, her family and things of that nature, and how, he said all of that when she was dealing with the fact that she was the one who was trying to revive her sister, and her daughter was watching her as she was trying to put breath back into her, and she starts crying. Y'all, Trish normally gets on my ever-loving nerves, but that part got me. I got emotional while she was talking, because unless you've experienced a type of loss like that, those losses stay with you. It stays with you in a way that I cannot explain. I've done a lot to get to where I am today, therapy-wise, but there are still times in certain situations that trigger me. Certain smells will trigger me, So seeing her get emotional like that, I understood some of her pain. Now, I've never lost a parent. And when I sat there knowing that this young lady didn't just lose one, she lost both of them along with the sibling, I felt bad for her. And my heart goes out to her and all those have had significant losses like that, because it's heavy and it does change you, and it does leave, a little piece of you that's not, the same. Yes, we find ways to cope and to, to push through, but it doesn't mean that there's still not hurt there or a void, because it's a void. So Nell feels like, overall that Trish has done a good job handling herself hearing this. And she admits that, she doesn't like to talk about it. And she even wants to stop having the conversation right there. And she's like, she is understanding Trish because she too is like this. She misses her mom, and she doesn't have her mom, which is the person that she would normally, talk to and get advice from and all those other things. And Nell says that she's angry and that her fuse is short. And Trish is agreeing and saying it's the same thing with her. And there's times where she just needs to be by herself. They find common ground in bottling up their emotions and staying to themselves. I feel like it's not healthy though. Nell feels like she does need to find closure. I feel like they both need outlets. They need therapy. They need counseling. And it's not to rid themselves of the grief, but it's to learn how to navigate through it, because it does help. When you hold it in so much, there's a point where it just explodes. And for these women and anyone else who's dealing with it, I don't want you all to explode. It's okay to have days where all you want to do is cry. And sometimes you will, but the explosion is what I worry about. So we go from that heavy topic to this topic that at this point I'm so tired of talking about. But Ken is back at Wicked to see his friend. Now, I'm not really into grown men with braids because there's a lot going on with his head and them braids are not cute. But we're going to talk about, Will, and how I appreciate the conversation that Will was having, because out of the guys on this show, even though he's not a cast member, whenever he comes on the show, he seems to be more level-headed, and it makes me want to know more about Will. I believe Will is married because I saw a ring on his finger, and I love to see what his dynamic looks like, because we need some men on this show that aren't toxic, since, Carlos is going to keep coming to us with this show. So Ken is frustrated by everything that's going on with Trish. He doesn't like how she responds when he questions her, how defensive she gets. He doesn't like that there are things still going on with Quez, whatever his name is, with her husband and with Martell. He doesn't like how he found out about Martell. He feels like he's putting forth all this effort and doing all the things that he's done just for his feelings to not matter, because in a lot of ways, they do not matter to her. Her priority is her kids. It's not you. And it's okay if she was single. She's not single. So at some point, she needs to be thinking about her man too. But Trish is very much so about herself. And it is because Trish has work to do. So he's like, look, I get it that she's had trust issues because of her past. And, I noticed that whenever she gets too happy with me, that she just tries to cut off her happiness. Will feels like by this time, Trish should know that Ken is a solid dude. She should know the type of person that he is, that he's done so much. And it seems like he's become like this mini punching bag. Will wants to know, why is he okay with taking this type of stuff? He's like, I've seen you in several relationships, and for whatever reason, this always happens where you become this punching bag, and I want to know why you're okay with it. And when he said it, I said to myself, and y'all tell me what you guys think, but I feel like because there's something wrong with Ken. Ken is lacking in some area that he is okay with being aside. Ken, you need to know your worth, sir. Know your worth. I don't care for you, but know your worth. You should not be okay with playing this position where you're on a seesaw. Like you don't know which way she's going. Because she wasn't ready to be in a relationship. Because whenever she talks about Marquez, whenever she talks about her husband, it's still very vivid for her. Like, she's still very hurt by the way that he handled things in their relationship, and she hasn't even begun to process it, in my opinion, based on her response. Ken feels like, there's a bunch of BS out there with people, and that, a lot of people are only concerned, with themselves. He feels like there are times where Trisha's selfish because she's not considering him. That, they aren't divorced yet, despite her being separated for 4 to 5 years. Will says, look, don't take this the wrong way, but are you sure she doesn't want to be with him? Because he was her high school sweetheart. Basically, there's history there. I agree with Will. I feel like she, as much as she says what she says, because to this day, they still aren't divorced. As much as she says what she says, there's nothing that should be holding them up, especially because she's with another man. She's playing house with another man. What are you waiting on? And what are you showing your kids? So Ken says he feels like she's, putting the divorce off because she's worried about the opinion of her family. And that just didn't make sense to me. They sat there episodes ago saying that both families were coming together for this cookout at the house to celebrate the kids. We saw her when her sister came on, and she told her sister, like, no, he's just not, this man I've been dating. Like, we're together, like we live together. We saw that whole conversation. You have been living with this woman. You have a home together. You have been around her kids. At this point, it's not about her family because all the things have been done. It is about her. Will says, if your cup is always empty, what exactly are you sticking around for? When is enough enough? And Ken is like, I'll go when I need to go. At some point, I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, or I'm going to go away. I don't believe what he's saying. I think Ken talks a good talk. He likes to hear himself talk. But Ken is very much so in love with Trisha, wants to be with Trisha for now, likes the idea of this family, likes being able to take care of another man's family because it gives him something to hold over somebody. It's just my opinion. Y'all tell me yours. And I don't feel like he wants to leave because other men would have never even allowed it to get this far. Back with Nell and Chris, they visit the graveyard with their kids. They go to see her mother. It's been 5 years, and Nell is somber and says like she doesn't like coming there. The kids have various feelings about it. Lance says he came about a month ago for the first time. He says he hurts because he wasn't there as much as he should have been in her last days. That he was, her first grandchild. And I was like, ooh. When he said that, y'all, I felt myself getting a little emotional because I too felt the same way about my grandmother when my grandmother passed. My grandmother, that lady, that was my boo, y'all. And I'm blessed to still have my other grandmother living. My when I say every summer from the age of 2 to the age of 17, I was with my grandmother every summer. I would see both of them, but I spent majority of the time with the one that recently passed. And when I say that I kicked myself in the butt so much because I had planned to see her for the 4th of July, not knowing that she was going to pass before that. And it messed me up because I feel like the pandemic took time from us because I was trying so hard to make sure that I didn't bring anything to her or to anyone else, that there were times that I would have definitely been to see her, but I didn't because of that. So when I heard him speaking about how, he put his love life before and her and the job before her and all those other things, I could understand that guilt that he was feeling. Now, I was a lot further away. If I lived in the same state, it probably would have been a different story. Not that I'm knocking him. I'm just saying I understood what he was saying. So she's like, yeah, you were the first grandchild. I had you at 20 and I was scared, and she helped out a lot. She was a great, a great mom and a great grandmother, and she loved you guys. And she's like, that's, her tombstone says, gone but not forgotten. And she's like, Mom always said that I was gonna miss her when she was gone, and boy was she right. And she, breaks down a little bit, and she starts crying, and she's on the ground, and she's talking. And what I love to see is, even though the other family was hurting too, they were there to support Nell. They knew Nell needed that moment, and they were there to support her. And I think that even though there's certain things that's sketchy about Chris to me, I loved how he was there for his wife. And as I saw her, I said, this is the very reason why I can't do the whole gravesite thing. Me personally, I've come up with my own ways. There's certain spaces in my home that have become places for me to remember those that have lost. Like in my room, there's this whole section where I have my brother. There's various parts of my place, of course, where he is, but there's a whole section in my personal room where I have my brother. And I keep a Christmas tree up in another room because that's for memory of my friend that loved Christmas, that passed for sickle cell, and my aunt that was a second mom to me. She loved blue and I love blue, and I have one of her scarves that hang. Like, there's different things that I've done that allows me to cope. And I say all of that because some people can't go to visit their loved ones, where they're laid to rest. For some, it's too much, and it's okay. You don't have to beat yourself up for that. Do whatever helps you cope. Seriously. No judgment when it comes to that. Because I saw like a little bit of people saying like, what do you mean you haven't? Everybody can't do it. And you shouldn't feel bad for not being able to do it. Just like you shouldn't feel bad if you can't go to a funeral. You got to do whatever allows you to make it through that moment. Right? So we go from that heavy scene to what's supposed to be this bachelorette party. I'm telling y'all like this, just on the little bit that I saw, it looked very basic to me. I don't understand how this relaunch that Destiny did looked like it was better planned out than this thing that was done for Nell. Like, there's an event planner there, and the event planner is doing something. I'm looking at the tablecloths, look real basic. I get that they're going to paint, but it looks real basic. The event planner is taking pictures of these basic charcuterie boards that are on the bar, and it's very underwhelming to me. Very underwhelming. And she's throwing this party, and I'm looking at this stuff, and I'm seeing the thing, and I'm like, where are her friends? Like, do we not have a lot of people because of filming? Do they not want to be on camera? Like, where are the people that are there for her other than the people who are there for this show? Destiny's throwing the party, and even though she has an issue with Nell wanting to invite Sunni, she's still gonna do it, and she's just gonna remember where to keep Nell because of it, because she don't like the fact that she is choosing to be okay with Sunni. Mel walks in, says hello to everyone. Destiny offers her a drink. She politely declines it. She sits down, and then even though Tisha was right next to Destiny when she declined a drink, Tisha asks her if she wants a drink, and she's like, no, I'm full. I just ate, and I can't stay too long because I'm gonna, do something with the kids tonight. Meaning she has custody of her kids this week. We know she's 1 week on, 1 week off, but she's there. So Kimmy looks over at Trish and says, have you talked to Mel? And Trish says, nope. So Kimmy's like, okay, you didn't have to say it like that. So Mel's like, if y'all don't mind, Trish, do you have an issue with me? You have an issue with me? And Trish says, no, you would know if I did. I would tell you. I said, Trish, you're lying. Kimmy says, I'm surprised she said no. And Mel is like, yeah, I'm surprised too, because Kimmy, you told me about the conversation that you guys had and how she might have an issue with me. She's like, okay, I don't have an issue with you per se, but I didn't like the way that you were kind of instigating at the celebration. And Mel acts surprised. Was she instigating? I don't think she was instigating, but I think that Mel overstepped and she shouldn't have said certain things. That much I can agree with. So we get a flashback of her making the comment that Trish has all that energy because she's still in love. Well, she still loves her ex, and that she gets triggered too easily. And Trish didn't like it. She felt like it was messy. So Mel's like, okay, I gave my opinion. So me giving my opinion on this situation that we're all privy to is what makes you feel like I'm being messy. If that's the case, then everybody here is messy. And she's like, yeah, all y'all are messy. Mel claims that her saying that they love each other was just a joke. Trish didn't feel that way. I don't know if it was a joke or not, but I'm going to lean towards it wasn't a joke. And I'm also going to lean towards if it was said to Mel would have had a problem with it too. Like we're going to be honest about it. Kimmy's like, okay, I told, you, Trish, I didn't feel like it was that big of a deal and that you could have talked to Mel and y'all should be able to talk through it. But I see how you're saying it wasn't a joking moment to you. I can understand how that would bother you. But Mel might not have known it in that moment. I said, okay, Kimmy, you're doing a good job with these bones and with making this conversation go smoothly. You're not picking sides. You're doing the diplomatic thing. I can appreciate it. So Mel's like, I didn't understand it because I haven't said or asked more than anyone else. That is true. Others have said way more than what Mel has said. And Trish, this entire time, does have a little bit of a tood because even Kimmy said to her, you didn't have, like, you responded kind of abrupt there. Trish got her little attitude and she's like, Mel says, your energy right here, the energy that I'm getting from you now is, why you're getting the energy that you're getting from me now. Her energy was awful. I think she came in there with an attitude because she already knew that this was going to be a thing. But had you, when you were in front of her, when you all talked, you could have addressed it. I just don't understand where all this energy was when she had a one-on-one with Mel and Mel was asking her questions. Why did she have all these problems with Mel after those questions were asked rather than addressing it right there and then? You saying that you still love your husband or Mel saying that you still love your husband isn't far-fetched because y'all to this day are still married. So we're not going to act like it's, that far-fetched, but then Mel, we ain't going to act like it was a joke. So Trisha's like, I don't give, two F's about all of that because they're going back and forth. And Kimmy says for two people who say they don't have an issue with each other, it sounds like y'all have an issue. And that's because they do have an issue. I think Mel in the beginning did not have an issue with her. I think Mel was keeping an open mind despite what was trying to be done. I think that what flipped for Mel was when Mel realized that y'all brought her on the show because of her connection to Martell and not just because you wanted another couple on the show. And I think that Trish got an attitude because of how Mel questioned her. Trish doesn't like being questioned, which is what we're going to see next week. Trish doesn't like. You heard Ken say that she gets real defensive when you ask her certain questions. So I think that because of that, it then caused a rift with them, period. But they both have a problem with each other, even though they're both saying that they don't have a problem with each other. Because Mel's like, I don't have a problem with her. That's why I invited her to my event. But her being on 1,000, it doesn't work in my life. It's like, it's not conducive to me. And Trisha's like, I'm an adult. I can speak, however I want to speak. And I can say what I feel. And she's right. You can, Trish. You can speak however you want to speak. But people like myself are not going to deal with you disrespecting me. And just because you got muscles and a big mouth doesn't mean that you have the right to try to flex. It doesn't work for me. And if I were Mel, I wouldn't even entertain that situation. So Destiny then pipes in and she's like, look, I'm tired of all the rah-rah. This night is not about y'all. It's not about either one of y'all. It's Nell's night. That part of it is true. The conversation shouldn't have been had there. But when else are we going to see each other? Because they don't like each other. They don't hang out with each other. She's like, the energy doesn't need to be like that. And Mel's like, it's going to be good when she gets here. Don't worry about it. And Just after that conversation is done, just after they go back and forth, who walks in? Sunni. And now Destiny says she's going to have to eat her own words and try to have good energy with Sunni being there. If there's something that I left out that you want to talk about, feel free to put it down below. What did y'all think of this episode? Until next time.